final segment of today's episode, which is the Thursday crossover Thursday here, sponsored by PrizePicks. Make sure you download the app and use the code Locked On NFL, all one word, LOCKEDON NFL, to win $50 instantly when you play. That is PrizePicks. Sponsors all of our crossovers here on Thursday across the Locked On Podcast Network, and make sure you check them out. Well, I don't know. I think I have to let you know that it's a pretty special day. They're going to put Tom Coughlin, the greatest coach and GM we've ever had, in the Ring of Honor. They're going to wear those old uniforms that they wore back when Tom Coughlin was the coach. The place is going to be fired up. I think it might be raining a little bit. So I think the Jaguars are going to pull this out, man. And I'm not being a homer, because if you listen to Locked On Jaguars, anybody can tell you I have been beating up on this team. I've called for people to get fired. But sometimes in the NFL, what happens is these formula games where they gut it out and they muster up a win. I'm going to even pick a score for you, man. I'm going to wait till you tell me what you think is going to happen before I pick that score, though, Jake.
All right. Yeah. So I don't know if it's as big a deal there in Jacksonville as it is with the Colts, but the Colts have not won there since 2014. It's a thing. We call it a curse around here. And, you know, this feels like one of those games where the Colts probably don't they probably don't have much business winning it, but they still pull it out. You know, we don't know what's going on at quarterback. Probably not going to have your running back. Your defense is just beat to smithereens right now. I don't know. This feels like one where there's going to be a lot of ugly moments on both sides, probably, which will lead me to my keys in a moment. But I just got to think, like, if the Colts aren't going to win in Jacksonville, like right now against an 0-4 team, when are they ever going to win in Jacksonville? So I'll give it, it's going to be a one-score game, but I'm going to give the Colts the 24-17 win in this one.
All right, all of that makes sense. And I forgot about the curse. And the worst team I ever saw fielded, here was the year Urban Meyer was a coach, at least until this season. Oh. This team is talented. That team is just bad, right?
Yeah.
You guys are supposed to make the playoffs, and you couldn't because you lost to that horrible team.
There were people in the stands wearing clown masks. They didn't even want their team to win.
I didn't want it. They knew they were going to get the first round pick, but no, they didn't want to win. And then I believe that y'all lost another one, the Gardner Minshew once down here. So
19-20.
Yeah, man, it's just been buck wild down here for the Colts. I'm going to go 16-13 Jaguars. And the only reason I'll do that is because I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think the weather's going to be ugly. We do have a very good field goal kicker. Young kid by the name of Cam Little that can hit it from 55 yards. They haven't been able to punch it in. I'm going to say the Jaguars get a couple of key turnovers in this game, all right, and that they don't commit any turnovers. But that's the only way that they win. If the Jaguars commit multiple turnovers, they will be 0-5 because they have just not been able to overcome turning the ball over, especially in the wrong on the wrong side of the field. They just have not been able to overcome that. But I think they're going to gut this out and find a way to win, and it'll be good for Monday morning at the water cooler. But I don't think anybody's going to look at this game and say, okay, they turned it around. No, I don't think that's going to happen at all. But I think it'll give a reprieve to the coaching staff for at least 1 week. And then the key is going to be after that. Okay, now can this jumpstart them? Can this get them going? And can they squeeze out another couple of wins and find themselves 3-4 in a couple of weeks? Or if they're 0-5, it's time to kiss the baby, man. And I think you're going to start seeing people talk about them getting out of here.
Yeah, so I think in this one for the Colts, same thing. They got to take care of the ball, whether it's Anthony or Joe Flacco. Both of them have a tendency to just grip it and rip it. You know, when Joe won Comeback Player of the Year last year for Cleveland, he was still, I don't want to say playing reckless, but like he was willing to take chances, and you know he turned the ball over a little bit. And we obviously know Anthony has the 6 interceptions, but again, I think whether it's Anthony or Joe, I think Jacksonville is obviously going to want to try and make them pass it, even though that hasn't been their forte, stopping the pass. So the Colts are going to probably have to pass a little more. You just can't be reckless with it. Take care of the ball. I mean, Jacksonville, I believe they've only got one takeaway so far, right? So, like, if you're turning it over against a team that doesn't take the ball away, it's like, God, you're really shooting yourself in the foot there. Get a couple big plays in the passing game. This is a defensive coordinator that put the Colts through hell last year when it was Colts in Atlanta. Now, Michael Pittman was not in that game, and Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. So, like, it's just a perfect recipe for disaster there. But, the Colts got some guys that can win those one-on-one press man matchups. Alec Pierce has been outstanding through the first few weeks. A.D. Mitchell, if he can form any sort of chemistry with his quarterbacks, he's cooking DBs one-on-one. It would be a great week to maybe get him jump-started because he is legitimately open a lot when he's out there. His playing time is just dwindling because he's kind of having some rookie errors. But then I think, the Colts defensively, they've had to deal with Trevor Lawrence getting the ball out immediately and not being able to lay a hand on him. That's been the recipe a couple times. They have not been able to pressure him because he's getting rid of it so quickly. So whether or not they do that, they've got to harass him. It's really tough because that defensive line is so banged up, but they were still able to make life difficult for Justin Fields often last week. But if it's a quick passing attack, swarm to the ball immediately and just try and harass Lawrence the best you can. Week 1 against Houston, the Colts defensive philosophy was, just stop the run as a byproduct of getting to CJ Stroud. I don't know if, they got to play that level of harassment towards where the ball is going. Right. But I am worried about Jacksonville being able to run on them, especially a guy like Bigsby who can break those tackles. The Colts linebackers have stepped it up in the last couple weeks, but we've seen some atrocious tackling early in the season. And again, I mentioned, near the top, like at a certain point, how long can you overcome your injuries?
Right. And the Jaguars have those interesting injuries in the secondary. So what's going to be the cat and mouse here and the chess match here is, do you try them with those big, tall receivers? Do you get after them, and do you test their depth in their secondary? And then for Jacksonville, I think they need to run the ball. But one thing is if they go to not plays, but more of players over plays, Brian Thomas Jr. has looked the part. And Mitchell and Brian Thomas was a source of a lot of arguing and fussing between me and a bunch of people in the pre-draft contest. And now I don't think they trade Brian Thomas Jr. for Marvin Harrison Jr. with the way that they have fallen in love with him and how he's played. So he has been a pleasant surprise for Jacksonville. I just hope that they understand that they have to run the ball first and then set that up with a little bit of play action to be able to take those shots down the field. But if they come in with the with this disposition, like this predetermined disposition that they're just going to throw it, and then not try to win the game, I think it'll be a disaster for Jacksonville. So I got 16-13, and what do you got? 24 to what? 17?
24-17. And I'm glad we got to the point where we can mention Brian Thomas Jr. because that is another one that scares me. And that is a guy who we thought almost was a foregone conclusion to the Colts. We all kind of thought he would be a Colt, but Latu kind of fell into their laps. But no, I don't know that the Colts have anyone healthy right now that really matches up well with him. So this might be a good day for Brian Thomas Jr., another good day.